Hey, Rob Harley here, how's it going? Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was shown off on a TGS live stream and again about a day later on something called Game Live Japan, and I've been watching the footage over and over and over again. I am so excited. There's the clean Link gameplay, Daruk, playable young Impa, the maps, items, Sheikah Slate, graphics, music, everything just has me so hyped up for this game. I seriously cannot wait. But I noticed a few things and wanted to share my findings. Sure, there are other channels, other people out there that probably have also noticed these things and done a better job at highlighting them, but I still wanted to do this. Why? Because I can. Before I get to it, I want to state that this got so long that I decided to turn it into 2 videos. This one will break down most elements of both the TGS and Game Live streams, while the other will be a breakdown of the characters. Okay, to start off with, we have the controls. The controls are fairly simple and straightforward, and the buttons are all the same despite the footage being in Japanese, but I still wanted to do this. So let's get to it. First, like the original Hyrule Warriors, you have your standard Y for attack, X for strong attack, A for Musou or special attack, B for dashing, ZL for blocking, and a feature introduced in Legends, up and down on the D-pad to change character. There is also a button to change the zoom on the minimap, but I'm not sure what it is. Possibly minus like in Hyrule Warriors. Different to Hyrule Warriors though is that locking onto enemies is now done by clicking the right stick, while L is for items such as healing and certain weapons like the fire rod. But this wasn't actually shown off in the TGS footage. Items were first shown in the game live stream where Daruk holds up one of the various rods, like a toothpick, and reveals there is durability for them. Next is ZR, which is used for character actions. This was mentioned during the TGS livestream that character actions is something different for all the characters, but we don't actually see it in place until we see Impa and in the game livestream, Daruk. I say we don't see it in play because Link pulls out his bow here, and the bow was just a regular item in Hyrule Warriors, but the bow is actually Link's character action. So yeah, ZR is like each character having another attack button. The on-screen text here says it's for character actions, but Link pulls out his bow. Impa gets some on-screen text that mentions signs of hostility, but this is all about her seals and how she uses them to create and use her clones. And finally, Daruk can awaken the power of magma according to his texts, which is basically to raise and explode magma pillars. This will be further explored in the later character breakdown video. And finally, R is for the Sheikah Slate. Now, like L, you hold that to select an item, you do the same with the Sheikah Slate. You hold R and press Y for bombs, A for cryonis, B for magnesis, and X for stasis. Now, interestingly, they did say in the TGS stream, but didn't show it off until the game live stream, that everyone has and uses the Sheikah Slate, but will utilize runes in different ways. We see during TGS that Link will throw multiple bombs with Bomb, and will use Cryonis for a leap into the air, which he can then combine with his bow, his character action, for some slow-mo gameplay. While the game live stream then shows us Link using Magnesis, who will pick up a metal crate to move around with him. Impa instead will use Bomb to plant a vortex-like bomb that will jump up into the air and explode like a firework, Cryonis to create and ride an ice block, and Magnesis to combine a couple of metal parts around her and slam them into the ground in front of her like a giant weapon. We also got Daruk using Bomb to create a single large bomb that will explode into several smaller bombs that create rocks for Daruk to use his character action on, while he uses Cryonis to leap into the air like Link and then slam down for an AoE area of effect attack, once again creating rocks for Daruk's character action. Daruk also uses the Magnesis rune, but he only used it to counter an enemy, so I'm not sure what he normally uses it for. And yes, like regular items did in Hyrule Warriors, runes will allow players to counter and parry larger enemies with weak point gauges. For example, Link uses Bomb on a blocking giant bokoblin, Cryonis for a charging giant bokoblin, and both Link and Daruk use Magnesis to play a game of stop hitting yourself with their enemy, stripping them of their weapon and using it against them. The last thing about controls I want to mention is that there are also situational button prompts. Like when an enemy's weak point gauge is emptied, you don't use a weak point attack immediately if you are close enough, but have to press X to use it now. The Flurry Rush makes its way from Breath of the Wild into Age of Calamity and can be used when you dodge at the right time. And the other I noticed in the TGS stream is when launching into the air, there is a prompt to use the paraglider with B. Now while we do see the paraglider in the TGS stream with Impa, this is instead used with one of Impa's moves. It's in the game live stream where it's finally shown off that Link can use the paraglider. Interestingly, Daruk also has the paraglider text whenever he used Cryonis as well. This pretty much means that, like the Sheikah Slate, anyone can use the paraglider. Now that's it for controls, and it's finally time to take a look at other things. For example, I can't help but feel, as I'm sure many of you do too, that this mission starts out the same way Hyrule Warriors did and most likely takes place at the very beginning of the game. Many demos do this, so it's no surprise. What was a surprise is that when finding and activating the Baby Egg Guardian was the Sheikah Tower sprouting out of the ground. Before I talk about the tower, let me break down the map. The demonstrator travels from the Sacred Grounds to what looks to be the quarry, despite being west instead of northwest of the Sacred Grounds, and then south to the garrison, and it is here that the Baby Egg Guardian activates. So this tower that sprouts up is the central tower found close by the garrison ruins in Breath of the Wild. As Link continues on, his gameplay ends in what is most likely the exchange before the demonstrator moves on to Impa. Now I want to speak about the tower for a second, as I am insanely curious as to why the tower popped up here and now. The Sheikah Slate looks to have activated and lifted not only this tower here, but also lifts them all 100 years later in Breath of the Wild when you activate the first one. So there's something up with this, and it makes me wonder. We may be discovering some towers and shrines and seeing Zelda attempt to study them in this game rather than just fighting enemies, which would be cool, I'm not gonna lie. Not to mention, we know the story will include the recruitment of the champions, but it could also show us Impa's growth and possibly becoming Zelda's aide or something along those lines. Point is, this story could be taking place further back or exploring more of it than we initially thought, and not just the champion recruitment and fight against the Calamity. Now that's it for the TGS stream, but there's also the game live stream, which gives us a lot more to talk about. For example, Daruk, Link using a spear, and the locations. The first thing to point out is the game live stream starts on a menu that shows Link and Impa being played on this map with their health and weapon below them. The interesting thing here is, it looks like there's room for up to 4 characters and even room for a secondary weapon. Here we can see Link has just 5 hearts and is only level 4. In the first mission shown off during the TGS stream, Link started at level 1 with 4 hearts and finished on level 3 with 5 hearts, so this is very likely only the second mission in the game. The later mission as well, Link, Impa and Daruk are levels 6, 5 and 5 respectively with 8, 8 and 7 hearts. Hang on, this doesn't add up. So Link gained 3 hearts in 2 levels? Or if all characters have the same growth rate on hearts, then it was 3 levels in a single level? Either that's their weapon experience I'm seeing, which I doubt based on the footage we've seen so far. The hearts and all levels are predetermined for this demos, and these missions aren't so close together, which I can see being the case. Or this basically confirms heart containers can be found in the wild, or obtained in some fashion, such as purchasing them. Honestly, I'm hoping for this one, which is also likely, as it could explain why Impa has 1 more heart while at the same level as Daruk. Below the health we can see the weapon, where Link has equipped the Soldier's Broadsword with, as you can see, 17 attack power and is only level 1. For 1, this means the weapons also have their own experience, which wasn't previously known. 2, there is no durability meter, so that's good. And 3, there is a symbol here that I'm guessing means Link has powered himself up, or his weapon, as the original Soldier's Broadsword in Breath of the Wild only has 14 attack power. Now speaking of weapons, I do want to bring up shields, as I was confident that swords and shields are separate like in Breath of the Wild and not like in Hyrule Warriors. One thing that seemed to confirm this is the pre-order and Breath of the Wild save data weapons, the ladle and the training sword. When these appeared on the streams, the text says both weapons work best with the pot lid shield, and you can see said shield in both of their promotional art. Also, we see several times throughout the gameplay that weapons can be picked up as Link picks up a few swords, some for defeating larger enemies, others from chests. But here on this menu, the soldier's broadsword is combined with the soldier's shield, so that pokes a hole in my initial theory on weapons. Maybe swords and shields are combined prior to battle to make a weapon set. We'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. Now if we look at the map, it looks like it's called the Road to the Royal Ancient Lab, which I'll get to in a moment. This is also the mission objective, to reach it. The last details include pressing L for information and R for trophies? No, sorry, weapons. And finally, the defeat condition is the Warriors standard, Link, Impa or Zelda falls. Now as for the map itself, as I said, it's the Road to the Royal Ancient Lab, as the map name on the menu, the text as you start the mission, and the mission objective mentions a research lab, while the environment looks like it's in an area like the Breach of Demise. This is backed up by the land bridge south of Karak Bridge, which is along the path from Hyrule Castle to the Royal Ancient Lab, being seen in the distance. And since the Breach of Demise is right next to the Karak Bridge, this is definitely the Breach of Demise area. One other thing is, while most in-mission objectives I've seen have been about defeating certain enemies, here it's a little different. I mentioned Zelda before, and the overall objective for this mission is to reach the Royal Ancient Lab, but the first objective when you start this mission is actually about escorting Zelda, whom you can see on the field near Link. Shame we didn't get to see how Zelda plays, but it's nice to see her here in this demo regardless. Moving on to the gameplay and other elements, the first mission they play here I've already mentioned most noteworthy talking points, being the items and Sheikah Slate. But there's two more talking points to mention here. First off, I actually missed this a lot until I realised one of the hosts points it out. Before the end of the demo you can see a Korok plant here, but as they want to keep it a secret for now, the other hosts then said it was time to wrap up. Interesting. So Koroks will have a purpose in this game, eh? Second, before they do wrap it up, they fight a Guardian very briefly, but in that brief fight they confirm here that not only does the shield bash make it in from Breath of the Wild as seen at the start of the mission, but also the parry. Now our focus here is the Guardian, which the parry did very little damage to, but there's something up with this Guardian itself. While the health looks full, why are two legs already broken? And was the shield parry supposed to do so little damage? I'm going to say both are intentional, but I'm curious all the same. Does someone sweep in and save them? And was that someone already fighting the Guardian? Who knows? And that's the first mission done, and with that done, it's time to move on to the second. Yet outside of Impa, Daruk and Link's new weapon, there's only really two things to say about it. That unless hearts and levels were preset for this demo, that this is probably the third or even fourth mission in the game, and that this mission takes place in and around Goron City on Death Mountain. Well, that's it. Whew. That's one down and one more to go. I didn't expect to make a video so long that it needed to be two separate videos. I just noticed a few details and that wound up to me watching both streams on repeat and trying to figure out every detail I could. I apologise for any mispronunciations and mistranslations. It's just how I pronounce things, and I'm still a greenhorn when it comes to learning Japanese. But all this just goes to show how excited I am for this game. I am so ready to be heard again. And that's everything not related to the characters themselves I found and wanted to say. Please stay tuned for the upcoming character breakdown video. Thank you everyone for tuning in and listening to me ramble on, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or contact me on my Twitter account found in the links below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to like, subscribe and all that usual stuff. See you later.